does a formal introduction. So I will tell when I'm going live. Uzair, you know my channel, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Once we are live, quickly give the link to all the groups.
Okay, ma'am.
Kandapan sir, Ganesh sir will do the moderation at the end.
No, I said we will, once you give the introduction,
yeah.
I mean, we will just ask Professor Putri Sophia to start off.
Yes, yes.
Then after she concludes, wherein I would then request Professor Charles.
Okay.
And then after that, I'll ask Professor Kandapan. Finally, again, I'll conclude, summarize, and have some Q&As.
Yeah.
Then you could follow out with the other Q&As which come up from the.
Yeah, sure. That would be fine.
Okay, if the discussion is done, shall I go live, sir?
Yes.
You can go live.
Then I think all of us should be quiet. Then I'm going live now.
Good morning, everyone.
Wait, sir. I'm still not given live.
Yeah.
I have to say go live. Then you start after 5 seconds or 10 seconds. Yeah, I'm giving live, sir. Go live.
Good morning, everyone. Dear academicians, dear faculty across different universities and engineering colleges and arts and science colleges across India, Tamil Nadu and other states. We welcome you for the Season 2 webinar, Awakening Business Trends, hosted by Department of Management Studies, Saveetha Engineering College. As faculty, you and me are teaching, and we don't belong to Generation X. Generation X, probably we would be between Generation X, who are born between 1966 to 80, and we are teaching to Gen Y, who are born between 1981 to 1994, and to Gen Z, who are born after 1995. We want, as Gen X, we want to be independent, we want change, and we are all technical literates, but we have got one thing in mind: skepticism. But these skeptics today need to be with Gen Y and Gen Z. Gen Z and Gen Y are characterized with, and they are born with smartphones. From the day one they are born, they learn to play as toddlers with smartphones. Never seen a world without internet. Okay. So they are very fond with texting and messaging with mobile apps. And they got tons of new information. So they will be spending much of their time with social media. And they are very autonomous, not like us. They don't rely on their parents because they've got earning capacity because technology has made them. And they are environmentally aware and they are very health conscious. And they got a very superb character. They are versatile. They are multitasking capability. And very important thing, this Gen Z and Gen Y has got us this attention span, which has reduced from 12 seconds to 8 seconds now. The one good thing is, regarding the Gen Z, is 8-second filter. What is this 8-second filter? They curate what need to be goes into their ears. What is their feed? And they focus on what matters to them. But it is very difficult to get their attention. Once you draw their attention through what matters to them, they become loyals. That's Gen Z. And as faculty in COVID-19 season, things are changing in India also today. Everything is changing. Everything has become online. Everything has become digital. As faculty today, we are working from home. We are listening to webinar from home. Today, children want to learn from home. They don't want to come to college. They want to learn from home. And today we are talking about classroom session being like an episode. And every episode should end with a thrill. And it should be like your TED Talk. Need not be a very lengthy lecture. So all this matters today for this Gen Y and Gen Z generation. So this week, we have got series of lectures being webinar that is being delivered today on 21st century classrooms. That is 3i's of 21st century today being delivered. And tomorrow we have got a session on storytelling. Then we have got a session on virtual simulation. And then we have got a session on account management. Then we have got the last session on 15th with high impact writing. Today, we are very proud. Department of Management Studies, Saveetha Engineering College is very proud to get connected with Taylor's University, Malaysia. And we have got people and the learned professors joining us for this webinar. Today, we have got Dr. Kandappan Balasubramanian, Associate Professor, School of Hospitality and Tourism. And we have got Ms. Putteri Sophia Amuruddin, Program Director, School of Law. And we have got Charles Sharma Naidu, lead faculty from School of Innovation Technology, Taylor's University, joining us on bringing 3i's for 21st century classroom. I welcome you on behalf of the management. I also welcome Mr. Ganesh, CEO, Learn with Simulation, to be part and to take us the moderatorship. And we welcome you. Now I hand over the session to Ms. Putteri Sophia Amuruddin, the Program Director, School of Law, Taylor's University, Malaysia. Over to you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Nirmal, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here with all of you today. I'll be the first speaker to present on this webinar itself. I'll be sharing my screen, and our session today will be on bringing 3i's into 21st century classroom. So my name is Putri Sophia Amiruddin. I'm a senior law lecturer as well as program director for Master of Laws program. I enjoy holding two positions because as a lecturer, I understand the constraints faced by educators, especially when all of us are forced to transform our delivery methods to deliver from face-to-face interaction, and then we are all embarking on virtual teaching and learning. As a program director myself, I understand the direction as well as the constraint faced by the management. And by being a program director, I'll be able to balance between being a lecturer as well as management in order to determine what's best for our lecturers as well as our students. So the reason for this session itself, I'll be able to share my experiences as a lecturer to all of you today. So before I start off with my presentation, I would like to share this quote that I'm very fond of with regards to how we're going to proceed in embarking on virtual learning. In order for all of us to step into new norm, we must confront the challenges of uncertain future because we don't know when COVID-19 is going to end. We don't know how long it's going to take, but we know that everyone is talking about new normal. So that's why we must imagine beyond our comfortable zone and we must move on from the dangerous certainties of the past, which means whatever the way that we used to, the structured manner in terms of how we conduct classes, the rigidity with regards to the processes and procedures on how lecturers manages his or her course will need to be changed altogether. We can't rely with what we're comfortable already. We must move forward and start reimagining what's best for the future. So I would like to welcome all of you to today's webinar itself. And also I would like to welcome all of you to the world's biggest leap in education. Because why I'm saying biggest leap? Because not one single person is untouched by COVID-19 pandemic. All students around the world, all educators around the world are affected by COVID-19. The statistic shown on the screen itself was extracted from UNESCO website, and it shows the position in India. If you see at the last column, it says students at tertiary level. There are about 34 million students in India are affected by COVID-19. So this shows not only students, but even educators like ourselves need to keep abreast with the changes introduced by COVID-19. It is not only a steep learning curve for students to adapt to changing learning online, but it's also a steep learning curve for educators. Because for us, semester has already started, but at the same time, apart from teaching, we also need to quickly transform, introduce various teaching pedagogies that is suitable for online platform. But rest assured, you're not alone. All of us are into this. We can deliver our modules online because we are all in a global concerted effort to digitize education. So it's not only limited to India, it's not only limited to Malaysia, but it's the entire world. So I would like all of you to feel proud because all of us are creating history together. So that's why I would like to encourage all educators to start imagining things. Start imagining how lesson can be interesting if delivered online. Because these are the chance where all of us can reinvent what we want to learn. Everyone is talking about new norm, but no one knows what new norm is going to be like. So we have that opportunity to design what the new norm is for our students. So we need to start reimagining how the future of education is going to be. So by reimagining it, we can then ourselves curate how the education is going to be for your particular module. Of course, it's easy for me just to say, I've done a lot of reading, I've done a lot of research, I've done a lot of inquiries, and I came up with two main issues. There are concerns by lecturers expressing how can they best teach online. There are also concerns, how do you balance teaching and also spark learning? So the issues further delve into these areas where some students express they feel demotivated, they miss the connections, having personal interaction with their educators, they miss the interaction with their peers on campus. But this is something that not particular group of students are feeling it. All of the students are facing these issues. There are also issues with regards to distraction. Being at home, you have so many distractions will involve your siblings, parents, noisy, surrounding circumstances. So all of this we need to take into account and then best to share what are the areas how we can beat or go through these challenges. There are also concerns with regards to high quality of internet connection because some lectures can be lagging. So there are also alternative lectures can pre-record his or her lesson. But of course, it goes back to point number one. If lecturer pre-record his or her lesson, upload it on the learning management system or Moodle page, then students aren't able to appreciate or feel the connection with the lectures. So we need some humanization elements which encourage interaction between lecturers and students, as well as student and student. There are also concerns, how do you develop thinking? How do you nurture thinking as opposed just imparting the knowledge? Because I understand if we are confined at home, we are comfortable sitting in our living room or in our bedroom, and then we have the slides, we can't see the students. So some lecturers tend to take it easy by reading out the slides. So again, then students feel demotivated because it will become overwhelmed for them to keep absorbing so many information. So that's why I'll be suggesting lecturers to move forward from what they are comfortable with and then try to focus on having as many interaction as possible. Instead of we imparting knowledge according to syllabus, we still can do so, but instead of lecture just talking, we can draw responses, ask questions, get students to participate. It's good if all of us can act as a facilitator, ask difficult questions because you already know some students aren't able to answer it, but you want students to be on their chair at their home to start critically analyzing. So this would stimulate discussion because when students say, I don't know, then lecturers will give out another tips or another point. So these are all can be made on purpose, but tailored in a way where it stimulates discussion in the classroom. It's good to get students to get hooked with the lesson at the beginning of the class itself, because once they have the mindset that this is how lesson is going to take place when it's online, they will be more prepared to keep contributing answers even though it's through online lesson. So some lecturers will ask me, how I can stimulate discussion in class. So these are the suggestions that I've implemented in my classroom, but feel free to include your own unique techniques as well. My suggestion is you can start your lecture by including stimulating image, then it'll get students to be wondering why the lecturer is projecting certain pictures. Or sometimes I include striking stories which is not related to the topic, but I find like one element or one area which is related to a subtopic. It'll get students to be wondering, why is Miss Sophia doing all of this? Because I want them to start thinking at the first minute of the lesson itself. Some lecturers who opted to use Zoom can utilize the breakout rooms to ensure students are engaged in a discussion within themselves. Some lecturers introduce quizzes to ensure that students actually understood what was covered by the lecturer. I know Dr. Kandapan likes to use polling. Polling is good so that together yourself as an educator as well as the lecturer can design how the lesson is going to take place for that particular day. So if student feels involved in that particular lesson, so rest assured for the subsequent classes, the student will be more respectful for the lecturer and will participate more in any discussion or activity introduced by the lecturer. You can also get students, call up students' name to encourage them to give their opinion, because when we talk about Zoom, not necessarily all students will turn on their video cam. So this is how we get students to participate, get students to play devil's advocate. This is where I get one student to question another student's answer just on purpose to make sure that they test each other's boundaries or to test each other's knowledge. Sometimes the answer is correct, but I want another student to ask whether or not the answer is truly correct so that students will be confident in his or her answer. And lastly, again, Dr. Kandapan also like to encourage collaborative discussion. This is something that I've adopted as well, because when we talk about online learning, we must move away from independent work because students want that interaction. So we have to encourage as many meaningful discussion as possible by introducing opportunities for students to work in teams, even though it's via remote learning or virtual learning. So it is now the time for all of us as an educator to unlearn what we already know and start relearning as many new techniques as possible so that we can able to design the future of education for our own module, for our own course, and also for our own institution. So we need to get rid of the rigidity of the structure on how things works in the past, because this is the opportunity for all of us to try. If it works, then it's good. If it doesn't work, we can tweak it and make it better for the future learners. These are the examples of online engagement, communication, and collaboration that I use. But of course, I understand there are other lecturers out there who are more advanced than me. So this is something, if you haven't used it, you can opt it for your lesson to get students to involve in resource sharing so that not only lecture upload slides, so students can also upload, who works in team can upload their sample answers so other students can make better answer than particular group. For example, the use of slide maker platforms. So these are the so many areas of online activities that lecturers can choose from. So I'm going to show you on the next slide how my class looks like when I deliver things online. So I'm not sure if you're really good or good. So we're going to start with the recap. Let's see. In here, the guys are ready. So Kelly, Foster, Denise, and then the rest of the involve the bed, child, projector screening because I would like to assess everyone's understanding. So everyone is required to take pen and paper and then draw what you have understood from today's lesson. First, these pictures. So work, guys. Work itself and take yourself down to the floor.
Hey Chris, put that away.
Okay, so those are the activities that I introduce to students, which I don't rely so much on online platforms. Because some lectures, it takes time for you to learn all of the types of online platforms as well as incorporate in your class. So you can just use any creativity, get students to draw their answers, or to get students to involve in that particular activities for that class. I'm also an advocate of gamification. So lecturers can also gamify his or her lesson by introduce game cards, that poker cards. So lecturers can use game cards to provide marks for students. I also introduce virtual speed dating because we have a breakout room in Zoom. So I break students in room and ask them to so-called dating, but they have to talk on the topic of the day. And students are only given 2 minutes. So then in each class, I'll join and to make sure that they'll quickly cover on that particular area that I introduced. I also introduced learning using toothpaste, drawing your answers just like I've shown in the video earlier. And I also challenge students to ask me any question. If there's no question asked, then I'll challenge the student. So it will become like a competition between myself and the student. And sometimes when I watch Netflix and then I'm too engrossed with this particular TV series, I'll introduce that story into my lesson itself. So get students to be immersed with that particular activity, even though it doesn't necessarily involve crime. It's just the concept that they're holding a role as a detective or a spy or a murderer to solve particular issue. So this is something to get students to interact with each other in the classroom. This is one example.
You need a paper, but what I want you to do is to write on your palm just one skill which you think you have developed for the last 4 weeks. 4, 3, 2, 1. A city learner, short but specific notes, note-taking and research skills, note-taking. So to maintain public order and safety. To maintain public order and safety, correct? You also get A. Its violation is punishment. Correct, that's a good answer. So you get 10 points. For the decision made by the judges. Correct, in that particular case. You get a card and 9 points, Mario. So you get queen. Queen means you get 10 points. I think you is on fire today. It's not together or unified. You get a card, so you get Shafiq. It's really not your day. Shafiq, that's 2 points. So the branches of government. You must. You get 2. Today is not your day, Shafiq. I'm sorry. Rather, you have a legal reasoning for the decision based on facts in the case. So that's a good point as well. So you get a card, and for that, you answer 2 marks. Okay, well done, everyone. All of you deserve a round of applause.
So that's actually just an example how a lecturer can include a gamification or gamify his or her lesson. So when you introduce leaderboard, students will become competitive and then they want to keep answering the question because they want to receive the card. So sometimes, even though the answer is correct, if they get joker, they get 0. So they give them opportunity to keep trying again. So this is once in a lifetime opportunity for us to reimagine the future education, for us to design on what the future of education is going to be. Because we know when we talk about future education, it involves the 4th industrial revolution. It involves artificial intelligence, big data, fintech, all these sorts of new technological innovation. But at the end of the day, each and every one of us value human connection. So we must make sure that students are engaged in an interactive and meaningful discussion, even though it is difficult, but experience has shown that we can be resilient, we can be creative, and we can adapt. It's not impossible because all of us can do it. I've done it, Charles done it, Kandapan done it, and we believe that all of you can do it together. Because just like Dr. Nirmal mentioned, Generation Z nowadays, they can multitask, they rely heavily on tech savvy, they can get easily distracted. So they are not like all of us, where we learn, we keep receiving information, and we can memorize. For the young generation nowadays, they no longer accept to all of that. So we must take the initiative to be more creative than all of them. So we can leverage on our own imagination to roam all types of possibilities that the future of education can bring. Because you never know, once you put in your effort, it will be one day in the future that all of you will be presenting a webinar, and it will be all of us to learn from all of you. So with this slide, I end my presentation, and I'll pass back the floor to Dr. Nirmal. Thank you.
Thanks for that brief note, Professor Sophia, wherein it was interesting. In fact, a lot of things to learn from this session, and I have some questions that I park at the end of the sessions for the benefit of all. So the last slide, as you rightly brought it out in terms of saying that it's the resilience, creativity, and adaptability that is there. So that leads to imagination obviously has to lead to the next step, which is innovation to be brought in. So let me pass it on the baton to Charles to carry forward the session. Okay, love to hear from you, Charles. Now.
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. Allow me to share my slide. Can you all see this?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right, lovely. Okay, isn't that amazing? Just now, my colleague Putri, she's innovated so much with the tools of technology that was able to reach out to all her students wherever they are, and basically that is the new traditional. And she has aptly described the situation in this world today, and it's a transitional period for all of us. And with this change, we are redefining what we understand is the new traditional. Previously, the conventions are different. What we think as normal has definitely changed. The big question is, from everything that has been presented to you, what works for you? So that's what I'm going to explain right now. I'm Charles Sharma Naidu. Basically, I'm a senior lecturer with the Design School, Faculty of Innovation Technology, Taylor's University. And yes, I have been in the field of education for quite some years. My main area is pedagogy, teaching and learning. So I have a passion. The passion grew over the years, and believe me, it took me many years and many trials and errors to actually understand, to comprehend what is really important in teaching and learning, and how do you grasp it as an educator. So when it comes to technology at this time, there are researchers, educators who have suggested, their studies have suggested, that authentic learning takes place with technology instead of from technology. I myself have fallen into that trap that I thought technology, I assumed basically technology was everything that makes it special, that everything that makes blended learning and online learning or virtual learning matters. But I was so wrong. It is really about how technology has become our companion. Just like how Putri has shown in her video, she has successfully made technology a successful companion. And others have predicted that the virtual worlds and online games and online collaboration is going to be the next big thing. Millions. And these predictions, these inferences, these suggestions and powerful statements like this have been in literature, in studies for past years already. Now, what does this all mean? Now, the new traditional showed us this. This is what I understand as an educator. Once upon a time, not too long ago actually, just not too long ago, basically just like maybe last year or just recently, some months back, before this pandemic happened, before all this transition to virtual learning, this is the only thing we can make sense of. We understand that this is the real interaction, face to face, and we have to see their expressions. We're able to listen to their voices. We have more personalized interaction with the students. It's easy to grasp the evidence that we see right in front of us. However, with the change, we are put in a very tough situation, and this was me for a while. I was like, help. So there were so many platforms as well. There are many tools. There are many tools of technologies out there that can help us and assist us. However, the tools of technology does not necessarily mean it is the solution, that they are just merely the tools. Therefore, we revert back to the question, who matters most at this point of time, or what matters most when it comes to online learning, especially during this shift. So we are put in front of the drawing board. We put in front of the drawing board where we start to brainstorm. And I believe everyone who's listening here, all educators, wherever you are currently in this situation, trying to brainstorm, trying to peel the layers like this onion. If you peel the layers of the onion, you need to go to the core of the problem. And to understand that, you can extract the appropriate problem statement, or the right problems, which is very much connected with your situation in your schools, in your colleges or universities. It can also be more relevant to your specific programs or your subjects. So this is the thing that we were involved in, and we are still doing so. So what happens then? When we do this, when we start to problematize the situation, then we become more discerning in what we need to decide and choose. The selection process is a very complex process when it comes to choosing the right tools, deciding what works for you. You need to be discerning. The complexity, it's hard to describe, because you need to be really hands-on with the applications. You need to be hands-on with the tools of technology, computers, or whether you're using smartphones or cameras. Doesn't matter what tools you're using, but you need to be hands-on and you need to try it out. So as you do that, you start to get some information, and then you become more discerning. So the issue is, you need to reach out to your students. So you have to identify what works better, and that's where innovation applies, because you're not exactly like starting from scratch or reinventing the wheel. You're reusing the tools of technology to work for you, not you work for them. Yeah. So I went back to the drawing board. So I tried to create frameworks. I tried to make sense, make connections. And I encourage all you educators to do your own mapping of how you connect your subjects, how you connect your delivery to your students, and what goes between, and what applications come in between, and so on and so forth. In this case, this is a very rough thing I used to do. I put myself as the educator, for example. Now let's just say if I was one of those educators, and I say there's a lot of work for me to do here, so I want to fulfill this. So I approach it as fulfilling work. Okay, so I'm motivated by obligation. Now we have situations like this. Now I'm not saying this is a wrong situation. I'm just saying it's just a matter of perception. So if the educator is motivated by fulfilling just work, or motivated by the obligation to do it, then he will still come up with a good instructional design, or the right pedagogy. And he will also use the right tools of technology, reach out to the students, and then achieve the learning subject learning outcomes. But what if you approach in the other way? Now, if you notice, there's a difference. Now, if I become the educator, what if I put students first, trying to understand where the students are coming from, inculcate more empathy to the students, to your student audience or the student population. Like say, if you have a population of college students who live in these areas and that areas, and if you know their sense of accessibility, so you understand how it works. You collect information and collect data. So in this case, you're motivated by the role that you play. The role that you play in to be a problem solver, to be someone who can not just seeing the tools of technology as the main idea, but what is the right technology for you. Then, of course, it makes the innovation more effective. Why? Because you already know what the problem is. You start to problematize, and then you understand the right measure or the right approach to the teaching and learning methodology that you have. Then you use the right tools of technology, then you fulfill learning criteria, and then you have achieved the learning outcomes. But not just achieving the learning outcomes, but a lot in a more holistic manner. Now, the biggest challenge in online learning, in virtual learning, is this. You need to be able to reach out to them, mind, heart, and physical, right? So if cognitive and the affective, and then you have your physical. The physical is merely, in this case, you can't interact with them physically or face to face, but you can interact with them, quote unquote, face to face. So like a good example, Putri has shown you very good examples of how interaction with her students, quote unquote, face to face actually happened. And that in this case, the outcome of that will be very interesting to see. But what's missing in this structure? So what's missing in this structure is here. You have to remember, there has to be some kind of feedback. So the feedback from the learning outcomes. So when the learning outcomes, when the students give feedback, and then you start back here, and then it goes here, and you constantly get feedback. And you can, and even here, now, whatever the case, getting feedback contributes to important data, important information. So it's important for every educator to be able to find ways to record their sessions and get good feedback from the students. So when it comes to accessibility, how do I deal with it? I have actually interacted with most of my students and always ask them what is the right platform. Students may be registered, maybe they have registered like 5 subjects and 5 very different subjects, or 4 very different subjects. And sometimes problems can arise when each subject have very different platforms, which is, sometimes it can be a problem because some subjects are very, very different in nature. So we had to compromise the right platforms which can be used for many subjects at once. Sometimes this can be a problem. So I have resorted to a very common platform like Facebook Live. Now, to justify that, you can access statistics online to see that social media platforms are really useful. Well, why I use social media platforms is because they can access social media platforms on their smartphones and their desktop computers, their laptops. They can also access it through their tablets or iPads if they have it. If they have such facilities, they can do so. And even if at low bandwidth, even at data, they can actually try to view the live sessions in the social platforms and bring their comments. Even if they can't, they can still comment on a session that has already been done, because every live session on Facebook Live, for example, will automatically be recorded by Facebook and will automatically be posted in the Facebook group. So as you can see, statistics shows that mobile app downloads are frequent, and the popularity of social networks is evident. You can definitely refer to this online. So the most popular ones I can see, even WhatsApp. I know professors who are very content on using WhatsApp. WhatsApp already have teleconferencing methods, approaches. Some students are also using YouTube Live, and some of my colleagues are using Facebook Live, and some are using an app called Discord. If you're familiar with the Discord, then you will understand what I'm talking about. And there are other apps too. And Zoom, Microsoft Teams are also some of those apps. But sometimes managing what apps can be used throughout the different subjects can be challenging. So it takes a lot of discernment and a lot of management. So it's good to understand where the problems are and try to iron it out, trying to create a good platform for accessibility. So, of course, Asia is the most connected, according to statistics as well. Now, what do we do from here? So what did I do was I decided to see it two ways. Okay, there's two possible approaches when it comes to using specific technologies. You can actually, for example, when I was showing you this, I'm sorry about this. Let me just clear that. Okay. When I was using go back to my previous slide. When I was doing this, when I actually created this, this is me in the foreground, and that's my background, and my background was showing the slides, and at times I can show different backgrounds if I so choose. Now, to do that, you need to think of two possible ways. One, you don't have to have a background. You can just do it spontaneously wherever you are. Educator, direct access or direct link to the video and audio device, for example, smartphones or camera device, direct, nothing complicated, just direct. And then as you use that will project yourself to a social media platform of your choice. And assumingly you have Facebook or YouTube. And then the user or the student audience will be able to access them. Now, then here there's another approach. If you wanted to have different backgrounds and have your subject names or all the other effects in the backgrounds, then you could have your direct to video audio device, a camera, an image acquisition device, but you have to have a broadcasting application. So this broadcasting application is like a third-party app which connects to your computer, and it will project. This one will use the backgrounds and will project you as from the camera and the background to the social media platform. Now, this can be done in various ways. There are more than one broadcasting applications. It's just a matter of you conducting your search for the right tools. However, I'm not saying that all of you should do this. I'm just saying find what works for you. because, and it's still important for you to get connected. But the most important thing is first identify, understand, and empathize with your student population. Continue to interact with them the best way you can, and do not judge the way you're doing it, because it's a stepping stone, it's a platform for you, the first beginning, and then you can continue to develop it. I would encourage you to develop it. And as Putri said, if she could do it, I could do it. Anyone can do it. But before you get it done, before you get there, you need to be discerning what's best for you. And I believe you can. But the most important thing, let me close with this. The most important thing is this. This lighthouse is you. It's us. And this is what they need to see. The student population, the user population need to look for the lighthouse. They can be lost boats at the sea. And if it's too dark, this situation is such that it's a crisis. But we cannot always think of crisis management because we are not always trying to fulfill work. But if you play a role as the lighthouse, then they will gravitate to you. They will automatically be attracted to you, and you will put yourself as the important person in your classroom, and you remain as the most important person in your pedagogy. As a matter of fact, you become the pedagogy that you design. And this personification makes it so important for you to be able to reach out to your students wherever they are. So I wish you all the very best in your instructional design, and hope that you find the best platform and the best way, the best applications to use with your students. So thank you very much. And these are my contacts. Feel free to add me in Facebook and email me if you need any more information about what I have spoken about. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charles, for that wonderful session. In fact, the concluding slide of a lighthouse is not just only something that sets the direction, but also has thrown us a lot of light to all the audience out here. Okay. I don't know whether this is out of choice or it's a conscious decision that you took. When your first slide said that innovation for the new is a new tradition. Always when we relate a tradition to a kind of a rustic feel, and your slides, the very first slide and couple of slides, try to bring that rustic element to the look and feel of it. So I don't know whether it was a conscious decision. And good that you brought in certain points, especially you said that technology can just be a complementing or a supplementing tool, and it cannot be a complete replacement of the traditional classroom. You need to bring in these as an add-on to enhance your learning process, is what you brought it. Good that also it's not just you try to bring in a traditional, moving away from the what is called as a past tradition to a new tradition of bringing gamification or simulation or storytelling or new technology tools into classroom. I see many institutions have started adopting it and started doing it, but how many institutions have gone back to the student community to really understand what is the feedback and how do the students feel? So a feedback mechanism to be integrated part of this journey is something very important as you brought it. And finally, one thing that you also brought in is there is no one fit solution for all. So there should be a different element that has to be adopted, might be based on the demography or the audience profile or the level of competence or level of learning from the student community. Beyond that, what I was more interested was the entertainment quotient in the classroom. Always the academicians that I have come across talk about education to be a very serious affair, and entertainment is an alien element to it, but bringing entertainment to the classroom is something very interesting to note for. Okay, thanks to bring on all these points, Charles. I think this will definitely aid to lead and aid a lot of interaction among the student community and the faculty community. So these interactions and how do we pull that interactions? Let's hear from our friend Professor Kandapan Balasubramanian. Over to you, Kandapan.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I hope everyone can hear me. First of all, thanks to the organizing team and also Mr. Ganesh and also all the participants. They are very important today. And all the people who are watching us in YouTube. This is Kandapan. Please allow me to share the screen. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So it is a very interesting session, to be honest, like 3i. Actually, we three of us from different discipline. I think this is an example for us to show a collaboration can be done everywhere. Because I'm from School of Hospitality, Putri from School of Law, Charles is from School of Design. So we come with the concept of 3i concept, which is nothing but imagination, which Putri was talking about. Charles talks about more on innovation. So I'm going to talk a little bit on interaction. So I would like to thank my colleagues. Without further ado, let me go to the, there's a very quick intro about me. So yes, I am Dr. Kandapan from School of Hospitality. And yes, recently I also got promoted last year, end of last year as an associate professor. And I'm also an Apple Distinguished Educator, which is one of the prestigious global recognized educator award, which is given by Apple. So they open every 2 years application where you need to submit your innovation to the global. It's not an easy task, but I'm privileged to get that award. And through that, I started sharing a lot. For me, technology is a passion, as Charles was mentioning. It is not to replace the human. So a lot of discussion in the world, like whether technology is going to replace the human. No, definitely not. But the people who's not using the technology might be replaced. That's the scenario now. Yes, I have won some awards in IUCEL, stands for International University Carnival for E-Learning. That is where we try to participate, me, Charles, Putri. That's where our relationship started, even though we are from this different discipline. It's not only promoting us, it is the place where you share. So what I'm trying to insist here, so as an educator, you must self-motivate yourself. And you must self-recognize yourself. Don't expect others should recognize you or others should appreciate you. It should come from you. Then automatically at one stage, the appreciation comes to you. That's what I learned through my experience. So some of the interesting research I do in the recent year is more on service innovation in the hospitality industry, as well as in the higher education, like in terms of gamification, virtual reality. Even I use augmented reality in my restaurant operation class. I'm basically from a food and beverage service background. I started my career in Chennai, Sheraton Hotel. Then now I'm here. It's already 20 years now after my graduation. So, and also 3 years back, I came with the concept of borderless classroom, which I'm strengthening, focusing on more. That means learning is no more between the walls. You must expand your learning to the various network. That's what we call it as borderless classroom. So I would like to start my session with one of the interesting quotes from our Dr. Radhakrishnan, where we celebrate our Teachers' Day in India. Teachers should be the best mind in the country. That means the teacher plays a big role in the shift of the entire country. That can happen only through your innovation, passion, dedication, and the pride. And taking the scenario of the pandemic, the COVID or any crisis, I would like to take the quote from Bhagavad Gita. Whatever happened for good. Whatever is happening for good. Whatever will happen will also happen for good. Yes, we know in the COVID, there are a lot of human damages, economical damages, financial damages, but looking at to the positive side, I think this webinar is one of the example. This webinar, because if there is no COVID, I think we are not going to meet each other. Even the educators, they are transforming, started embracing the technology. A lot of shift, a lot of sharing, a lot of webinars, collaboration. So these are happening, I think, because of COVID. If there is no COVID, probably I'm just taking a positive. Of course, there are a lot of negative, but we also need to see the positive side of the COVID. As Swami Vivekananda always say, take risk in your life. That's what I'm doing always. That means risk means in a new pedagogy approach, new teaching approach, new learning approach. You take a risk. If you win, you can lead. That means you can share. If you lose, no problem. Still you can gain. So there is nothing wrong. Either you win or lose, but you must take risk. So when I say risk here, it's not like your personal damage. It's a risk on your learning shift. Risk in your career path. I think when you, even in the business, I think Mr. Ganesh knows very well, we must take risk. Otherwise we cannot succeed. Maybe 11 years back, he has taken a risk to start up a company with a gamification. Now he is successful. If he's not taking the risk, he cannot be successful. I think the risk is very important. So why these 3 I's are important? We keep on talking about, me, Putri was talking a lot. I think Putri has done a very good presentation, especially on showing an example, gamification, and followed by Charles, very interesting, a flow chart. Okay, so I will try to play my part to just add on to the value of our I's. I think initially Professor Nirmal was showing about the attention span. Yes, really we are less than the golden fish attention, 8 seconds. But we don't know when the group is going to take session after 2 years, the session might go down, less than 8 also. Because we all coming out of the mindfulness learning. Those days, the people live in a world where the attention is very high, but now we live in a disruptive world. Even watching this webinar, you will be thinking so many aspects. Your brain waves behind will be thinking a lot about today's evening, what is going to happen in the evening, tomorrow, maybe day-to-day plan, weekend plan, so many things. So our mind is fully occupied. That's why the attentions are coming down, because we live in a disruptive world. But as a task, what we are trying to say, why we need a change is the task has not really changed. Is reading has changed? No, only from those days, the reading is from probably in the temple stones. From there, it became a paper. The revolution time, it became the paper industry. Then it started coming in the newspaper. Before that, broadcasting. Okay. Then reading probably enhanced to, I can say, in a mobile phone or internet. But still, when you see the core value, or maybe the core purpose is reading, still the information. So reading is not changed, but people's expectation is changed. For example, today I'm going to class with a paper, okay, and I'm going to circulate the paper, ask the students to read the paper. I think probably I will be failure today. Instead of that, probably I'm going to enter the classroom. Immediately I share a blog and I ask the students to address the question. Probably the impact might be different, because now we live in a world where UX, user experience, plays a big role. So we must change. Yes, I think we are talking about, even Prof. Nirmal mentioned about the X and Z generation. Yes, we take the different stakeholders we must consider. Maybe the parents, your business owners, faculty members, educators, students, and the industry. So this is all one ecosystem in education, right? So when you say an ecosystem in an education, the change is, the generation change is not only within the students. We must understand that the system, the generation change is happening across the ecosystem. So that's why you can see the Y, how they think, Z, they think how. Especially the current generation, what we call Gen Z, who are university students, No more X. No more Y, because Y probably PhD students or maybe young lecturers or young researchers. You can see there is a difference. The Gen Z is interested only when you share the real experience. Sometimes even the theoretical part, they are not very paying attention. But when you share your own experience or industry experience, they are much focused. And they are much, excuse me, as stated by early Professor Nimmer, they communicate more with images and symbols. So even when you create your presentation or maybe you design your classroom, you must bring this visual effect. If you're not bringing, probably the impact may not be so good. So what is the role of the teachers in this digital world, digitalized world, or maybe now we call it as pandemic pedagogical world? Okay, today's the learning space have totally changed. We must accept that, because as Charles was mentioning, you must put yourself into students' view. Then only you can design the classroom very well, right? And Putri was mentioning challenge through the gamification, because don't challenge the classroom within the, you don't design your challenges, assessment within the classroom. It has to be beyond the classroom and not only specifically always on your subject learning outcome or module learning outcome. Try to link it with lifelong learning outcome. That learning helps them for the lifelong purpose. Let them learn the meaning of the life. What skill is important? The most powerful thing what the educators can do, I can say 3E's here: engage, empower, and empathy. Okay, that can really shift your authentic way of teaching. Yes, technology is just to embrace and enhance your learning experience. Don't think that the robots will be replaced by humans. No, never happen. Because humans can always have an emotional touch. You can see your students, see the emotional values, face expressions. You can read. And you know how to shift your learning because you are the expert. Why we all tell about the technology skills are important, because the work is changing. The social networking, cloud-based learning, mobile. So the whole world, even the future skill require this. But if you're not educating or injecting that to your students' learning, when the students is graduated, even he don't know how to manage a social network. He don't know what is LinkedIn. He don't know, for example, where to look for information. Okay, the information is available everywhere, as even all the previous speaker told, information is available everywhere. Then what is the role of the educator? It is the role of the educator to educate your students to choose the right information from the cluster of information. It's nothing but catch a fish from the ocean, the right fish. You cannot catch the shark with a small bill, right? Small net, you cannot catch the shark. So you must teach your student what to catch and when to catch and where to catch is very important. Okay. How to bring interaction? That's a very important part. So one thing, storytelling. Okay. So in your class, try to design, or maybe as instructional design, like Charles was mentioning, design your classroom as a storytelling. Start with problem statement. Why this learning is important? Okay, how it is applied in the industry? What is the consequences? Okay, and how it has an implication in the industry, implications to the society, and how it builds your reputation. So I think the students like storytelling. But when I say storytelling, now it's a digital storytelling, because we live in a digital world. So you must create, even your slides should be a digital telling. It must have starting point, scenarios, and explanations. Number 2, always try to have some pool, survey, quizzes, which I do. Even in my online class last 3 months, because of the COVID, since I started in March early itself, I always put poll after every 20 minutes. How is my voice audibility? Are you able to follow me? Whether you need some maybe a low or upper in my flow of presentation. So I think the instant feedback through pool is very important, and also it helps you to track your students whether they are following your class. People who are pulling, probably they are tracking you. They are really following your class. Surveys. Try to do some even at end of every class, because my class is 4 hours now. So I do at least 3 or 4 pulls within 4 hours, and also end of the class, I always ask for a feedback individually by putting the student's name. Because I'm using Zoom, I will pin the student video so that their face comes to everybody's screen. Then I ask the feedback. So the students get some empowerment. They are, when you value them, they find it very good, because appreciation, virtual appreciation, I can call it as. Okay, then try to do some quizzes. Okay, what I do normally at the end of the class, I ask them to put 3 learning takeaway you have had from today's class. So I just create a word cloud using some Mentimeters, Padlet, so many things. Then another one, non-linear presentation, very important. Don't have a linear structure. You must connect your classroom, allow space to your learners to interact. Allow your students, okay, this is the scenario. Is there anyone have this experience before? For example, you are talking about customer satisfaction in a coffee shop. Just ask the students, can you share what is the 3 major expectation in a Starbucks coffee shop? Then let the students start. Then pull a video. Okay, when I say non-linear, it's not only you are transforming knowledge, where the knowledge comes from different ends. It can be from YouTube videos, it can be from experts' blogs, from your students, probably your industry. And gamification, I think a lot of example already shown. Try to have like a Kahoot, quizzes, Padlet, so many gamification, because the current generation likes competitive. They want to challenge. So make use of the opportunity. The last one is the discussion and breakout session. When I use Zoom, I always do a breakout session. So this allows the students to see the team members face to face. And as an instructor, I take a role of mentorship. No more instructor, mentorship. I go to all the breakout rooms and see what is happening, give some points to them. So that inclination is happening, and also motivation is there. So students say, okay, the lecturer is, the educator is coming and monitoring them. And I'm going to share some of my best practices here. So this is the model which I'm working still, working model. When you want to design your online teaching, the most important thing, you must know your module very well, practical or theory. And another important thing, you must know your readiness and also your students' readiness. The technology readiness is very important here. So then only you go to your next stage, whether you're going to use your campus learning management system, which probably may be Moodles or Blackboard or Google Classroom or customized, or you are going to use different, or you are going to use a mixed method. For example, if you are going to use a campus learning management system, you have to really follow the guidelines set by your respective institution or universities. No choice, you have to follow that. And it can, after that, you can decide synchronous or asynchronous. Okay. For example, I want to use something different, not like learning campus management system. So where you get an opportunity to use Zoom, like what we are using today, Facebook, as Charles was mentioning, YouTube channels, Google Meet, Skype, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, TeamViewer, Loom, okay, and Whisk IQ. So among this, I already experienced few of it, most of it, to be honest. Whisk IQ I used in 2014, which is very good also. So I think this is very important for you to decide whether your online class is going to be synchronous, live, or asynchronous. It's basically a recorded version. So when you want asynchronous, yes, can be done in a potential way. I'm not saying that only this is potential. You can use Screencast-O-Matic, PowerPoint recording option. If you're using MacBook, Quick Player, Aculen, very good. Then HT fine. Then Powtoon, if you want to do some animation-based videos. Story Articulate, very good, where you can have progressive presentation with questions. Camtasia Studio, YouTube links, Edmodo, Zoom, because Zoom also you can do recording. Podcast, if you think the broadcasting is the issue, you can even use WhatsApp. Even you can broadcast, because WhatsApp also allows you to do broadcasting now, telegrams, then a lot of app-based. So once you streamline this, make your decision here, then you go to your assessment. Then assessment, what can be done? Real time, or breakup rooms, or it can be pools, gamification, simulation, coaching. So you must do based on your own design. Don't follow others. As Charles was mentioning, you must design your own learning because you know your students better than anyone. Okay, so since someone is using this, it's not necessary you have to use it, but you can try always and customize it. Integration, customization is very important. So this is, and my sincere advice, try to have a good communication tool. Don't rely on one source. Even it can be WhatsApp group or Facebook group or your own learning management. Always have minimum two communication, because students comes from various disciplines, okay? Or sometimes the technological glitches. So this is another model. I'm working on it because we all talking about AI, artificial intelligence, but my model is more on human artificial intelligence. No, definitely not. It's a human alumni and industry model, which I'm coming with IC model, which is nothing but how you can integrate or involve your industry for the contemporary trends in your classroom for interaction. S stands for social media, how you can connect someone in social media during your class, some experts for networking and also for job related skills for the students or internships. E stands for educators, how you can involve the other institution or interdisciplinary within your campus to share some ideas or bring some talents out. Okay, this is another, maybe you can do some digital events where you bring out the talents of the students. The last A stands for alumni, because when you start bringing your alumni to your classroom, which I do since last 2 years, because they can share the real career experience, which will really good for your students to get motivated. So I'm still developing this model, proposed model, IC model. So I just would like to share some of the example what I'm doing. Recently, I did a virtual panel discussion, inviting the industry people, industry overseas educators on a specific learning outcome of my class. Then I open up the discussion for 2 hours. It's very interesting. The students participated, everything. The one you see on the top left, the virtual panel discussion, and below I invited one of the well-known professor and also runs his own consultancy from Singapore to share his experience on revenue management to my students. And what I am doing also, I am connecting to other universities, to students like Indonesia, Philippines, and India. We are also sharing our experience to them. It's not like one way, it is a both way of sharing. And virtual sharing session from Kazakhstan, one of my students, he shared, because he's a young entrepreneur, he shared his experience to my students. And the one you see on the right is from East Carolina University, USA, which I did an I can say it's a collaborative classroom where my students and their students do presentation on the same time. So when my students are presenting, the East Carolina University will become a moderator. That means they will ask questions. Control group, when they present, my students will become. So this allows the students to have some inter-exchange or intercultural experience. Because of this COVID, they cannot travel to other countries. Probably this is another way we can create an mobility or virtual sharing experience. The one on the bottom is bringing the industry people to share experience and also to be the panel for your students' presentation. Yes, I would like to say the tailors, we went virtual. The movement, the first phase itself in March until further noticed until end of this month, but movement control order is expanded here until next month mid. So probably we will be continuing. So I would like to say the COVID, what really has happened when the school closed, everybody started moving around to online, remote teaching. Know your learners, technology resource, very important. Communication channel, design your technology stacks, very important. It's a synchronize or asynchronous. And you be a digital, now the educator become a digital content creators, not a dumpers. You must create, co-create yourself. Creativity, statistically about assessment. And I think these are all some of the keep parents informed, very important. Ask your students for feedback. Sometimes they share some of the new platforms for you to integrate in your classroom, connect with peers and share. The key of success in the future and the current is basically how human and technology can work together. As this is my contact, you can always reach me. And this is one of my quote I developed over a period of time slowly. Every day is a new day. It's with new learning. I believe that every new learning imparts new knowledge. And every new knowledge is a new experience, leads to new skills. Learning never stops, as life never stops teaching us. Stay positive always. Thanks participants for listening us. Then I also take an opportunity before the Q&A. Myself, Putri and Charles, on behalf of them, we sincerely take a gratification to thank Dr. Nirmal, Professor from Saveetha Engineering College, and also Mr. Ganesh, CEO from LearnBits Company, who has connected us to them, and Professor Akila from Ramakrishna, who also connected to this session, and learning support from Saveetha Engineering College, Dr. Devi, Dr. Balaji, Dr. Samandan. That's end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kandappan. It was very interesting insight. In fact, when you started the session mentioning about the Swami Vivekananda's quote, which was definitely an inspiring. The moment I read it, I could able to connect myself, and later you brought me as an example there. Okay, so of taking risk. If you win, yes, you will be able to be a winner to all others. At least if you lose, still you can guide others. And of course, as an entrepreneur, it is not one journey wherein that I have succeeded and been. There are failures too, and
Yes.
that failures have given a lot of learnings which carries forward for us. So it was indeed a very interesting session, and what made me more liking in this is that what I've been in this industry for the last 23 years, and I've been talking about technology integrated learning, and visited all across India, many institutions and universities, and I meet professors and academicians and management of these institutions and talk about online learning or technology enabled learning. There was an inherent uh, kind of a mindset where they said no to this. They said this doesn't work for us. This is not something which our students would take it. It's not something that our faculty can adapt to. So there are a lot of inhibitions that existed, and now it is. I don't know whether it has been enforced on them or whatever it is. So I see COVID-19 as a more a positive element being in the education space. Though of course there's a element of loss of life and distraction of life for various people across the globe. So the technology way of learning, you have coined it as pandemic pedagogical world. So that's truly inspiring. In fact, it's the pandemic has made the pedagogy change a lot across the globe. That's not just only a scenario in India. So good to learn about these elements, especially when you brought in about the synchronous and asynchronous learning. Largely today, most institutions talk about synchronized learning where they adopt a Zoom session and they start delivering it. Very few of them have taken the asynchronous models. So it's good that you brought up this particular model too. So with that, I have some couple of questions where I would like to take it forward. I just have 3 questions for all the 3, each of you. I mean, 1 for each of you. So let me start up with Kandappan. You brought in about this concept called mindful new learning. Mindfulness is something the whole world have started talking about. The terminology has gained a lot of significance in the last 1.5 years. So how do you see that mindfulness in the new learning model that can be brought in?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ganesh, for bringing an interesting question. Actually, the model which I shared, IC model, that is where I think the students, if you as an educator, you become a centric of the learning, they are no more interested. So I think you need to bring various element. And I think the mindfulness world is mainly the attention, the involvement of the students towards the learning, about keeping all the disruptive elements or maybe disruptive tools, for example, even a mobile phone. So that can come only when you know your students and when you create a multiple learning environment.
Okay.
And probably you must involve your students in the learning process, empower your students, and you take the role of mentorship like a coach, no more instructor.
Okay, thanks. So I often talk about being a facilitator in this exercise, not just, you are not anymore a faculty in the learning process. You just have to be a facilitator. It is not a one-way traffic model that has been approached. It has to be a collaborative approach, rightly brought in. That's good to know about it. I just switch over my question to Professor Putri Sophia. You mentioned about, I mean, learning using toothpaste. Okay, I would like to understand a little about it, because today with pandemic scenario where students with no college to go for a campus to pack up in the early morning and go, the time they wake up and they brush their teeth itself is completely changed. So it's good to know about what is this learning using toothpaste. So at least it has some kind of a relevance at this point I can see.
Okay, no worries. Because I teach law modules, so when students do their assignments, it is a requirement for students to do proper referencing. So, but because referencing is not part of the content of the assignment, so most students tend to take it very lightly. So what I did was, when I say introduce learn law using learning, so I'll get students to get up and then go to their toilet and then get toothpaste, and then I'll get them to write on a piece of paper basically one word that they fear the most. So then they'll write using toothpaste that they fear of failing, they fear of disappointing their parents, so all types of fears. And then I say, now put back the toothpaste in the tube. And then all of them panic because they're gonna use this toothpaste, so they don't want to put whatever they have written on it. And then I say, okay, if you don't want to put it back on the toothpaste tube, so make sure you wipe it, but without using your finger. So then they will use their creativity to eliminate whatever they have written. And then I say, show the paper to everyone. So everyone will turn on their webcam and then show the messiness on the piece of paper. And then I'll tell students that's exactly what will happen if you don't do proper referencing. It will amount to plagiarism, and that piece of paper will be in their student file. So because it is very impactful, students do not want that piece of paper to be in their student file. So since then, they take referencing very seriously. So these are just one of the techniques that I use to scare the student.
Okay, so great. In fact, as a businessman, I would advise you wherein you could take sponsors from the FMCG companies for such session when the toothpaste of their company is being used for this purpose.
Yeah.
So they would love to come and sponsor it.
Yeah.
So that then I move on with another question. This is for Professor Charles, wherein first I would like to bring in this element of your bring the analogy of the onions into your class. So it's very interesting to know about it. Of course, in South India, wherein quite often we refer this when there is something which is not great about it, and people, it's just like an onion. Okay, so uh, you peel portions of it. Obviously, it is painful when you start feeling it, you start crying. It is, of course, it is difficult. But at the end of it, when you get into the crust, it is the smallest of the problem that exists. That's a good analogy that you have brought in. It's good. I would just put this question at, yes, I said that entertainment was is always looked upon as something outside the classroom, but you said entertainment to be part of the classroom. Yes, it is necessary, as I keep talking about gamification as a concept. Can you quote some kind of an examples that you would bring to your classrooms in terms of entertainment or edutainment to the classroom? Some quick examples that you can quote.
Interest is a very good question. Actually, there are many examples, and a lot of educators have used so many. They have extracted entertainment elements from various sources. The thing is, in terms of examples, okay, what I did was, for example, my example that I can quote you is games. So games are basically entertaining. So remember the framework that I did show you about being able to project this to the screen. But if you can't, then maybe you can encourage the student to perhaps use a specific game, and that game can be an interaction between you and the student. Now, this is not new. This is not new at all. They have already adapted games for education, like one popular app called Kahoot. Kahoot has gamified it very, very well, and they use a lot of colors and the excitement and the sounds, and is multi-sensory. Now, the reason for the entertainment is really about the multi-sensory approach. When he says multi-sensory approach, we're talking about the excitement, the affective, the emotional response and the reaction from the students to the colors and the sound. So it generates interest, and it also makes the session more lively, because the students of this generation, they are a lot more, they identify with entertainment more than something of a serious educational session. Not to say that the educational session is not relevant or boring. It's actually more towards their lingo, their paradigm, the sense, the way they understand the world from their point of view. Some of my students understand virtual environments a lot better, because many of the students in Asian countries, they are very familiar with games like PUBG, like 3D shooting games, where they go around and solve problems within the environment and competing. So that's the other thing that attracts them, is the element of competition. So entertainment also provides other things, like there's also laughter, there's comedy, there's also, of course, some storytelling, meaningful storytelling. Sometimes even games can be meaningful or serious games. So it depends on what the degree of connection that you want to have to students, how these entertainment elements will bridge between the lesson and the comprehension of the lesson, how it builds bridges between that. So that's basically how the entertainment works. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
That's good. That's good. In fact,
Yeah.
I love that fastest finger that Kahoot brings in. Okay,
Yeah.
so however you answer it right, whoever answers the first gets the 10. That is an entertainment quotient that Kahoot brings in.
Yeah.
I love that element, and thanks for this. In fact, I understand about 500 to 700 participants are there for the session, and there must be definitely several questions. And of course, we are running out of time. We have overshot our time. I'm not sure whether are there more questions to take up. I hand over this particular session to Nirmal. Before that, I would like to thank all three of you, sparing your time. I don't know whether I have taken your lunch session out and
It's okay.
got here to this. But it's good to have you all and nice to get connected. And we look forward to working with you all together at some point in time. Okay.
It's our pleasure, sir.
Thanks
Our pleasure.
And hand over your Nirmal to take over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Ganesh.
Ganesh. Thank you, Ganesh. We have got from the audience, we have got lot of questions. Okay. One important question that has been directly posted in the group is the impact of blackboard teaching. Okay, and the digital. Okay, can I leave that and go off, or should I still be? That should also be a part of that. It is for the panel, three of you. Anyone can. What should I do with the blackboard teaching?
Blackboard.
wants to
If I may answer that, I can. Just a point of view. This is just a point of view from me. To be very honest, blackboard teaching is technology as well, and it's not to be dismissed. If blackboard teaching, whatever that you're writing on a blackboard, needs to be disseminated to your students, you need to just use a tool. So you use a tool to record what you're writing on the blackboard, therefore project the blackboard to a platform where all your students can see. So I wouldn't say, but again, it depends on where the teacher is coming from, the location, and etc. Sometimes it basically depends on accessibility. So I wouldn't dismiss blackboard. You do not see blackboard as non-technology. Every teaching aid is a technology. Yeah, that's from me.
Yeah,
I truly agree.
Yeah,
I think during my research quite some time back, I would like to quote, like, even Egyptian time, the tablets were there, tablets, but only thing, it was stone tablet. You know, like when you see the Egyptians pyramid side, you can see a stone they write the instruction in the stone. Even in in our temples also, you can see that. So I think that there is a model has changed. That's it. The skin, I can say the skin is changed, but blackboard is something core. Core is the teaching, knowledge, transforming knowledge. Doesn't matter is a blackboard or technology is just to, I can say it is something like glasses for your eyes. I can say the technology is something like a glasses for your eyes. So blackboard probably can be your real eyes, because it has been for centuries, years. As Charles mentioned, yes, accessibility is issue, but at this point, pandemic time, when there is a restriction on the movement, I think the people should understand the importance. Yes, even in your house, if you have a small blackboard, you can write on it. You can project directly to your students through live sessions. Can be done. That's from my side. Maybe Putri would like to add something.
Yes, I agree with both Charles and Dr. Kandapan. With regards to the use of Blackboard, I also use it, but in terms of technological innovationness, I project Google document. So after I project my slides, so I'll show Google Doc and then I'll type in the keywords. So is this like how I write on the whiteboard? Is it that I utilize Google Docs because it'll be faster for me to type?
Yeah.
I think we answered the question, Doctor.
Yes. Thank you very much. There's another question. This has been a question raised from the previous season 1. Mr. Dr. G.V. Suresh was talking about, say, I want to give a assignment to students in coming up of post-COVID area. I need to think about the patient questions, the feelings of the students, whether you will be able to write so many pages, whether you will be able to see he has got other assignments. I need to consider. So as a teacher, I need to look the total whole as a student, not only look at only my subject as a whole. So what do you look at that, sir? And the other important thing is the stress level of the students need to be minimized. Okay, this is a very important thing, because using all the different gadgets and media, the stress level ultimately goes up. The study says it goes up. So when as teachers, we need to look into the stress level of the students before we do everything. How do you look at these things, sir?
Okay, can I answer that question?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm a program director, so these are all the concerns addressed by the lecturers. So what I'll advise is that as a management or dean or head of school is to send out Google survey to get all lecturers to provide their concerns, because if there is a meeting, then the meeting will be never ending because there are so many lists of concerns. So by having everything documented,
Yeah.
so then the management level will be able to come up with the instructions which is suitable for all students and all lecturers. So of course, it involves different subjects. There are different instructions. So that's why it is good to get all lecturers to submit their concerns via Google survey. So then you, as a management, you'll be able to identify the relevant teams. So some students, they can't do a presentation because they do not have a laptop, for example, or stable internet connection. Some students, there are concerns with regards to typing they're not used to because they prefer to write. Some students, basically there are so many concerns. So these are the areas that the management needs to address and then communicate the instruction to the lecturers, and subsequently lecturers will inform the students. Because there's no one answer for all issues. There will be separate answers.
Yes, ma'am. This, I think, ma'am has answered. One very, I think this should be the last question. See, people use different platforms. Okay, people use different platforms like Kahoot, all those different things that you say. We use now Zoom. Okay, and we started using a few of the platforms to go live. Okay, and connecting this with the attention span of the students. Okay, Professor Kandapan was also talking about the goldfish attention also. So how to grab more attention? Say we use games, we use all kind of. Will this enhance? The ultimate aim of this webinar today is to enhance the attention span of the students by gamification or by use of different technologies. The effectiveness, as Kandapan sir said, can be measured by feedback. Okay, so what should us here in India or what should we do to enhance the attention span of the students?
Maybe I will start first. Charles? Okay. That's a very interesting question. Even it's not only for educator, even for us human being, how to increase the human attention. Yes, this online class is a new experience for the students. We must understand that. The adaptation will not be very easy for them because they already used to a physical classroom. So as what I will just would like to share what I do in my classroom for more attention. Very often I will do pool, and also I do brain break 1, 2, 3. I call it as brain break. Okay, because they are sitting in front of the screen. So I call brain break 1, 2, 3. So I say, okay, now we will take 5 minutes brain break. I want everyone to go and have a cup of water, go and take some fresh air, have a small walk. So it's basically a lot of my students commented on that. It's a very good concept, like at least we come back with attention and you are concerned about us. That's one. And I think it's very important for you to design, as Charles was mentioning, if you want to have more attention with your students, you have to design your online classroom very well, which we are also learning, okay, through the process. That's what I was showing some of the working models which we are doing. Even Charles was mentioning some models. I think we also should allow the students to participate, get their concerns. And some of my concern, any issues, they will do a private chat with me. So, okay, I cannot on camera. I think one of the debate we all discussing on camera issues. The students don't want to show the face. So how, if there is no face, probably going back to our question, authenticity, the novelty of the student, we don't know, right? So I think this is some of my point is basically in 3. 1, put very often some kind of pool, get the feedback from the students, do brain break sessions, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, according, because my class is 4 hours. I do 3 brain break sessions, and I leave it to Charles to give some comments.
Yeah, I think I agree with your comments, Dr. Kandapan. I think these are very good strategies. But I would also encourage the teacher to ask the students what they're interested in. also leverage on popular entertainment, because I direct back to the question that Dr. Ganesh asked earlier concerning edutainment and infotainment, this thing. So if you take advantage of popular culture, it's very common. A lot of teachers do it actually, and I think it really works, because you have to understand your student demographics, your student population. For example, a popular hero in Tamil movies, well, or like or Bollywood movies, you can leverage on those characters, make them as part of an avatar in one of your lessons. That will definitely grab the attention of the students. But it really depends on your student demographics and their age level and all that. So that's also another approach. Yeah, so that's from me.
Yeah. Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Kandapan sir. I think we can close. The time is also up, and so your lunch time that we are meeting up. Okay, so today the Department of Management is Saveetha Engineering College is really thankful to each and every one of you here over here. Ms. Puteri Sophia Muridin, Kandapan sir, Dr. Kandapan sir, and Charles Naidu sir. Thank you so much, and Mr. Ganesh. Okay, so we are very grateful to you, and we the Saveetha Engineering College Department of Management Studies would like to get associated deeply into you to put our students over there and to bring your students over here, and all of us visiting our campus. So a lot could so this will enhance the student capability in learning. So thank you very much, Kandapan sir. Thank you very much, Putteri Sophia ma'am. Thank you very much, Charles Naidu sir. Thank you for joining us, and thank you very much. We'll break for this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Most
It's our
welcome.
pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.